Hello everyone, in this video we're going to have a history lesson. So to begin this lesson, I'd like to introduce you to these three men. Their names are Reed Seligman, Colin Finnerty, and David Evans. They're former lacrosse players at Duke University. And in 2006, this woman, a stripper named Crystal Mangum, falsely accused all three of them of brutally raping her at a party. Of course, many people believed her allegation and the story would soon gain national attention. And as you would expect, this rape accusation gravely affected the lives of these lacrosse players.
Do you ever think that if this does go to trial, that if you're convicted, you could face a lot of time in prison? Do you ever think about that?
Would you?
Sure.
Yeah. 30 years I could go to jail for something that never happens.
I never expected anything even close to that happening. And never expect anyone to get indicted, let alone myself.
Your whole life you try to, stay on the right path and to do the right things. And someone can come along and take it all away just by going like that, just by pointing their finger.
However, it didn't take long before this story began to fall apart.
Just 3 weeks after the allegations surfaced, a stunning blow to the prosecutor's case. The DNA collected from the rape kit did not match any of the lacrosse players. More troubling evidence began to spill out. Defendant Reed Seligman is seen here taking money out of an ATM at the same time he was supposed to be raping the accuser. But perhaps most devastating was this woman, the dancer who had performed alongside the accuser that night at the Duke party. She said if there was a rape, she did not see it.
I never saw a rape occur.
In the police statement, she describes the rape in this way. 3 guys grabbed Nikki, that's you. Brett, Adam, and Matt grabbed me. They separated us at the master bedroom door while we tried to hold on to each other. Brett, Adam, and Matt took me into the bathroom. Were you holding on to each other? Were you pulled apart?
Nope.
Those are not the only questionable statements Precious has made in this case. She's given different accounts about the number of men who raped her, saying at one point that night it was 5 guys, 3 men. And at one point, she said no one had forced her to have sex.
So with all this info being released, it became more and more apparent that this rape claim had absolutely no foundation. But the students and faculty at Duke University didn't care about due process. Waiting for all the evidence to come out didn't matter. All that mattered to them was that a woman said she was raped. So somebody had to burn.
There were threats of drive-by shootings, assaults, people driving by Duke students and pretending to point guns at them. And I came home every weekend because I was scared that something might happen to me.
You can't run! You can't hide! There's nothing to do but testify!
The lacrosse team was forced to forfeit 2 games because of the controversy. Fans showed up for yesterday's game and found out it was forfeited along with Tuesday's match. They were also greeted by protesters carrying signs that say, "Don't be a fan of rapists."
To have people in front of your house banging pots with a sign that says castrate, real men tell the truth, Sunday morning, time to confess, and going out there and saying all these things before any piece of evidence had ever been presented is just mind-boggling.
The 3 lacrosse players weren't the only victims here though. Their coach, Mike Pressler, suffered an equal if not worse fate.
You Google up one of the boys' names, my name, and then on the computer you saw the word rape, sexual assault next to your name. That just was, even today I get emotional about it.
You wake up in the morning, there'd be signs on your front porch. I get up at 5 a.m., take those signs down because I didn't want the girls to see those things.
What did they say, Mike?
One was that just tore me apart, rapist, lover. Another one, do your duty, turn them in, those things, those kind of things. And that's very hurtful. I don't care if it's 10 years ago or 10 minutes ago. It never leaves you.
Yeah. With the rape scandal at full boil here at Duke, Pressler was summoned to the office of then athletic director Joe Oliva, where he was issued an ultimatum: resign immediately or risk being fired. So Pressler resigned. The sacrificial lamb needed to appease protesters and protect the school's gold-plated image.
It wouldn't be until a year later, on April 11th, 2007, that all charges were dropped and the 3 players were declared innocent. But despite all the damage Crystal Mangum caused, she got to walk away scot-free. This whole scandal goes to show the impact, the power of a rape accusation and just how easy it is to lie about it. So you would think that after this happened, we would become a bit more skeptical of these claims. Maybe do a bit more investigation first, instead of immediately believing the girl who cried rape. But on November 19th, 2014, history began to repeat itself. Reporter Sabrina Erdley wrote an article for Rolling Stone magazine titled "A Rape on Campus." The article described an alleged gang rape of a female UVA student identified only by the name Jackie by 7 members of the Phi Kappa Psi fraternity. When the article was published, UVA erupted with rage.
Tonight, outrage at the University of Virginia is growing. Hundreds taking their protest to the front steps of the school's fraternities after the school's president suspended them for the rest of the semester in the wake of an explosive expose from Rolling Stone magazine.
Our university! Whose university? Our university! Whose university? Our university! Woo!
But after the dust began to clear, guess what happened?
Late today, Rolling Stone backpedaled in a statement writing, "In the face of new information, there now appear to be discrepancies in Jackie's account, and we have come to the conclusion that our trust in her was misplaced." The magazine also acknowledged its reporter, Sabrina Rubin Erdley, never talked to Jackie's alleged accusers, saying Jackie asked the publication not to for fear of retaliation.
Rolling Stone magazine apologizing for never contacting the accused attackers to verify the story, relying solely on information provided by Jackie. First, the fraternity denies there was a social event at the house the weekend of the alleged rape. Second, the accuser says her rape was part of a fall pledging ritual, but the fraternity says initiations only happen in the spring. And third, according to the article, Jackie says she was lured to the fraternity by a member who worked with her at the campus aquatic center. But according to the fraternity, none of its members worked there at the time.
In an article today, the Washington Post reported Jackie's friends recently began to question her account.
They say she told them she had been sexually assaulted by 5 men. But there are differences between that account and the Rolling Stone story. And while Rolling Stone describes Jackie as barefoot, disheveled, her face beaten, dress splattered with blood, her friends say they didn't see that.
I don't recall any injuries at all.
Listen to how Ryan describes what happened next.
The first thing I said was, we need to go to the police. And the reason that we didn't go to the police was because Jackie didn't want to.
Jackie said to you, "I don't want to go to police." She said those words to you.
Yes. And that's the sole reason that we didn't.
We have no basis to conclude that anything happened at that fraternity house.
The blistering report released last night by Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism called it a story of journalistic failure that was avoidable.
The report says Rolling Stone set aside or rationalized as unnecessary essential practices of reporting that, if pursued, would likely have led the magazine's editors to reconsider publishing Jackie's narrative so prominently, if at all.
Today, Rolling Stone retracted the story, the reporter apologizing to readers, to UVA, and to victims of sexual assault, but not to Phi Kappa Psi, now threatening to sue, saying clearly our fraternity and its members have been defamed.
So, just like before, a heavily publicized rape accusation crumbles before our very eyes. And all of this could have been avoided if Sabrina Erdley merely practiced basic journalistic ethics. This woman has taught journalism. She knows better. But, shockingly, despite her severe lack of responsibility, despite wasting the time of her readers, the school, and the police department, Sabrina Erdley was never fired. Well, maybe it's not that shocking.
The piece was a bombshell, with more views online than any non-celebrity piece Rolling Stone has ever published.
Apparently for Rolling Stone, having integrity is not a very high priority. They're too busy trying to get more readers, even if it means putting innocent people in harm's way. But let's not forget Jackie, the girl who fabricated this whole story. What happened to her? Well, just like Crystal Mangum, she walked away scot-free too. Not only that, but after this story fell apart, Jackie's friend Alex Pinkleton had the audacity to go on live television and say this.
We do know that this story is not true, so it's a very unfortunate thing that happened, and I think she is at least, if nothing else, definitely a victim of this story being published because Rolling Stone did not do their job in verifying it.
You heard it, people. According to Alex Pinkleton, even if you lie about rape, you're still a victim, and you should take no blame for lying. Miss Pinkleton isn't the only one with this mentality, though. Even after Rolling Stone retracted their article, the hashtag #IStandWithJackie popped up on Twitter, which could best be described as severe denialism. If you take the side with the information, these people will label you a rape apologist. There seems to be a growing mentality in today's world that we should believe women uncritically. Don't question, don't do research, just have blind faith. Innocent until proven guilty has become guilty until proven innocent. Writer Wagachwe Wanjuki wrote an article for BuzzFeed about the UVA rape scandal titled, "Why I Don't Want to Hear Both Sides of Rape Cases." And back during the Duke lacrosse scandal, even after evidence had come out showing the men were innocent, blogger Amanda Marcotte wrote that people defending them were rape-loving scum. Apparently, caring about the truth is equivalent to loving rape. Well, I invite you, Wagachwe, Amanda, Twitter commenters, and protesters to join our history lesson, because next time we'll be looking at some of the history of guilty until proven innocent.